Alright guys, welcome to the second video here on this build that we're calling the Remington. So a couple things you need to keep in mind when you're building is there's always something better you can do to make your house better. But what there isn't always more of is money. My job is to work with my clients based on the size house they want, based on their budget, come up with the best, most efficient house that we can. So as we go through this, I know there's going to be questions. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? There's multiple ways to build. My goal here with these build series is to show you what we're doing, explain to you why we're doing it, and then you guys can make your decisions better. Maybe it helps you decide, oh, I don't want to do it that way, or no, that's a great idea. Another thing with building is you're going to face challenges. As far as the build goes, we dug this foundation. They were calling for 1/4 inch rain. We got 3 inches of rain. So that caused some problems with mud sliding into the hole. We've got it cleaned out. It's just things that are going to happen during the course of your build. And instead of getting upset about them, instead of worrying about them, you just have to deal with them and get it taken care of. There's usually a solution to the problems you face. And most of the time, it's hard work. You just gotta suck it up and get it done, and that's what we're doing here. So I laid out this foundation with string lines using the Pythagorean theorem, marked all my corners with 60-penny nails. Then I drug string lines across, marked our digging lines with orange spray paint, and then we dug it all out. The hard part about this type of a build where it's on a slab and you don't have the entire inside of the foundation dug out is you can't draw string lines back and forth to get square lines. So I have a Stabila layout station that I use for that. The rain is holding off till about 1 or 2, so we're going to keep digging. A nice wide trench there. So we got more than half of it dug. I got rock coming at noon, so I can start putting rock in the bottom for underneath our footing. And then the rain will probably hit, but that'll put us to an end. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my compactor and compact the bottom of that trench just to make sure that it's good and compact before I put that rock. Then I'll compact the rock. Then I'll start setting my framing for my All right, good morning guys. Nothing like starting off your day. Physical labor. So that 1/4 inch of rain we were supposed to get was over 2 inches, and thankfully it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It could have been a lot worse. So we went around, we had some mud fall in, but we got it all cleaned out again thanks to my brother-in-law. And we are ready to start forming up our footing. We're using 2x8s. They're gonna be 20-inch wide. There'll be rebar in them. So we're gonna start doing that now. It is really, really wet. I don't know when we're gonna be able to get concrete trucks in here to pour. Probably definitely not till next week. It's Friday now. I need to get the excavator over here and dig a trench to get all this water out of here. Let that water drain. So I might try to do that this afternoon, which will help this all dry out a little bit faster. But and we're getting our outside form done. Footing is going to be in here, so I have more room on the outside, which is what I wanted. A little less room over here than I wanted, but to get everything squared up, this is where the wall has to sit. So we're starting with this. You can see we got a string line here to make sure we're straight. We got this all set to our grade. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start squaring up the walls and working our way around. So we'll probably just go that way. But first thing is to get we got our whole outside 2x8 hooked together. And then we're just going to work off this one right here, this wall. Just gotta bring a bunch more rock in here. We overdug, but there's a bunch of limestone, and we kept hitting big rocks, and it was digging it out deeper than we wanted, but just gonna work our way all the way around. I already have my marks made where I need for this board to tie in, so I'm gonna screw that in. So I need to turn that up. So all my corners, I'll start out by squaring them with the 2x4. So I measure 3 feet out, mark, 4 foot out, mark, and then it should be 5 feet across here. Then I screw this 2x4 in, and that gives me a nice square corner to work off of. So I'm using a combination of a Stabila layout laser, an LA 180 is what it is. That helps me square up my forms down here in this hole. I can't pull string lines or tape measures at an angle to do the Pythagorean theorem or the 3, 4, 5 method. So that layout station is absolutely almost mandatory down here for me. And then I got my laser level to set the height of my forms. So I've gotten 2 sides squared up, set to my grade that I want. So now I'm going to take my layout laser down to the other end, get it set up, match it up with this corner, and then it'll put out a 90-degree line just like I need. A solid green line at this corner. I know this corner is good. I can take this, since I know my laser's lined up with that corner, it's gonna cast me a 90-degree angle perfectly down this way. So my corner needs to be right here. So right there. So you can see squaring up these corners with these 2x4s got me pretty darn close. I got it perfect. I can drive a stake here, set my grade on this whole line. Then I can bring my laser down to here, set the 90-degree, set my laser down this to that corner, and then it'll cast me a 90 to this corner, and then I just continue my way around lining all these walls up, and I'll double check them a couple times. Alright guys, I'll get my grade stick, set this to the right grade, screw them in, and then work off this point, going that way. Alright guys, we got our outside 2x8 set to grade. We got our rock in here, we're just compacting it, then we'll put our rebar, our 2x4 spacers, and then our other 2x8 in. Alright guys, we have been working hard. We haven't hammered a nail yet, and we've already came across all kinds of challenges. One, we got this dugout and we got hit with a bunch of rain. Got it cleaned back out. Second thing is I erased a bunch of my footage, so that sucks. But we are ready to pour. It was really difficult to find somebody to deliver concrete, but finally we found a company. Actually, the company that I use to do all my flat work has a on-site mixing truck, and they're helping me out and bringing me a truck today. So we're gonna get this footing poured, but I'm just gonna show you guys what I got going on here. This is a footing that's built out of 2x8. So we've got about 8 inches deep. We're 18 inches wide. We got two 1/2-inch rebar running through it, and yeah, that's about it. It's level. Squared it up with the Stabila layout laser, leveled it with the Stabila laser level, and I think we're ready to go. But I got these 2x4s cut to get my width exact. See, we got rebar in here. We used metal stakes. We got plenty of rock. We got about 6 inches of rock in the bottom of this, compacted. We're a little closer to that wall than I'd like to be, but we're gonna be fine. All my work is gonna be pretty much on this side, so that actually works out all right. Not ideal, but it's gonna be fine. Basically, how I did this is I laid out the outside border of this footing, got it all screwed together, then started with this side, which is my constant, and then I built off of that, squaring it and getting it all level the way I want it. So once I got that done, we got the rock in here, compacted it, then I set my inside 2x8. And that's pretty easy because this rock was pretty level, so I just set it there, used my 2x4s to space it across, and then we got it all staked down. Rebar in, put chairs under the rebar because it's just... So once we get this footing poured, we will be able to build our ICF walls on top. Once we get it poured, I had rebar bent with an L, so every 2 feet, that's what the orange marks are, every 2 feet we'll have a piece of rebar coming out. So once it's poured, I'll work these down in there, and they'll be locked into the footing, which will lock the wall down. How I figured out where I could put these rebar coming out is I set up a corner of the ICF form and one of the wall pieces, and then measured and figured out where I could put that rebar 2 foot on center. It was just merely finding the starting point where it wouldn't hit a plastic support in the form, and then just pulling 2 foot on center from there. This particular wall will be 64 inches. So there was an existing foundation here prior in some of the area, and so I wanted to be sure we hit undisturbed soil, so I wanted to get below that foundation. It had all been dug out, packed back in with heavy equipment, but I wanted to make sure I got below where they had excavated and hit solid ground. And it's really solid. We got some limestone under here, which is luckily it wasn't any higher than it was, but we should be good to go. The truck should be showing up in half hour, 45 minutes, and we'll be pouring this. As far as the rebar goes, I kind of split it in thirds. If you go up to like a 24-inch footing, you want to put basically every 8 inches of footing is kind of what I use. I put a stick of rebar in. So, all right guys, so what I bought is a drop chute, so I can hook this to the concrete truck, and then we got this tube that goes all the way down, so I can just hold that and kind of fill this in a much more controlled fashion than just using the chutes and letting it drop. This is a must for footings that are down on the ground, because I've unfortunately had to do it the other way, and it's a mess and it's a lot more difficult, but I'm hoping this hooks on. This is pretty much a universal one here, so it should hook onto their concrete truck and make life a lot easier. All right, well, we have it poured. I know I said I was going to pour this last night, but about 30 minutes before the truck's supposed to show up, they called and said that the truck was coming to me, got buried in the mud. So we poured it this morning. We got it all poured. I just got to go around, screed it off one more time, and then we'll put our rebar in, 2 foot on center. I already got it marked out, and then we'll be good to let this dry, and then tomorrow morning we can start tearing all the forms off and getting our ICF frost walls built. So I'm pretty pumped out about that. So I'll give you a good look at this once I get it all screeded off and we start putting the L-bars in. All right, guys, we have this footing all done. Climb down in there so you can see it. So took us, we started pouring at 9. It's about 12:30. So 3.5 hours. Only the pour itself only took an hour. Got all my rebar in, 2 foot on center. Now we just have to wait till tomorrow morning. We'll pull all these forms and start building our wall. All right, so step 1 of this foundation is done, and that is getting the trenches dug and getting our footing poured, and I am pumped up about that. It's a lot of work, but definitely rewarding when you get to this point. Now kind of the fun starts building these frost walls with these ICF blocks. If you guys have any questions about this, leave them in the comments. We'll do our best to answer them. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody. This is definitely manageable, but you just have to take your time. Make sure you get your excavation the right depth, wide enough. There's a couple spots where I wish I was a little bit wider, but I'll be able to get this done. I have plenty of room on the side that I need. As long as I measured right, my walls will be fit on this footing and be square. That'll be a wrap here for this first episode of this Remington build. Again, this is an 8-inch thick footing. It's 18 inches wide. We have rebar in the footing, and then we have rebar coming out 2 foot on center. And then all of our ICF forms will fit over these rebar coming out. This concrete's already setting up pretty good. Those are pretty stiff already. If I did it right, we should have no problem just sliding these over the rebar, and it should go pretty smoothly. The key to this first layer is getting that first row perfectly level and square, and then the rest of it is basically just snapping it together, putting ties on, and then making sure your wall's braced before you pour. So we'll take you through that whole process, but we appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you like what you're seeing. And again, I'm always going to say this, the way that I do things is not the only way to do it. This is just the way I find success, and hopefully it helps somebody. So thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next video.